Before I implement any changes in my life based on anything I may hear in this presentation, I will seek recommendations from my own mental health provider. Any questions about that? Don't go out and change something that Jerry Smith said this. Okay, I'm not lying. Okay, it's your life. You do your thing. I understand that this entire presentation is for information purposes only. We don't know what we don't know, yet we think we know. Did y'all catch that? We don't know what we don't know, yet we think we know. There's a difference between teaching and educating. Teaching is Old English, which is takan, meaning to show, point out, declare, demonstrate, also to give instruction, train, assign, direct, warn, and persuade. Teaching is based on the unknown, giving you something that you don't know. Educating, the root word is educere, meaning to lead forth or to draw out. Educating is based on the known, drawing out of you that which you already know. If you would allow me, I would like to teach you a few things today. Is that okay? Yes. Question. How many of you have ever read this book? The title, It's Time to Stop Blaming the White Man. Anybody? I wrote this book. How many of you have ever read this book? It's still time to stop blaming the white man. Nobody? I wrote this book. How many of you ever read this book? Christianity, the Real Deal. Fact-based. Well, we got two readers in the house. Okay, did I tell the truth, Mama? I told the truth, Mama Pearl?
You told it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I wrote this book, by the way. How many of you have ever read this book from cover to cover, starting in Genesis, going all the way through Revelation, all 66 books? Good for us. I read this book 6 consecutive times, cover to cover. What is mental illness? Mental illness can be defined as thoughts that negatively impact your moods and how you respond to specific actions or situations. It is your mind's way of ineffectively coping with stressors. Mental illness runs the gamut from having short episodes of depression, anxieties, delusions of grandeur, various addictions to a major break with reality known as schizophrenia. Mental illness can be summed up as ineffective coping techniques to life stresses. How many of you have experienced stress in your life? Okay. We all have? Just living is stressful, isn't it? Getting up this morning is stressful. Every time you turn on television, you get stressed out. Folks running around there worrying about, what's the thing y'all worried about now? Coronavirus. What the old folks say? If you pray, why worry? Okay. And if you worry, why pray? I'm good. Mental illness symptoms. Everybody experiences some form of debilitating mental illness on a regular basis, such as sadness over a loss or experiencing various addictions. How many folks are addicted in here? At the height of my drug addiction, I was on 5 different drugs every day. I snorted cocaine, I smoked marijuana, I drank alcohol, I smoked tobacco, and of course I did chocolate. So I'm still addicted to chocolate, but I got rid of all the other addictions. Mental illness can make your life miserable and cause significant problems with your daily activities. It can mess you up, can't it? More often than not, symptoms can be managed with good counseling. I'm not your counselor. Symptoms can be managed with good counseling and in extreme cases, coupled with psychotropic medications prescribed by a psychiatrist, or when you really get far out there, in severe cases of mental illness, hospitalization becomes necessary when the person becomes a danger to themselves or others. I don't see anything over here, Bob. You saw me. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Let me introduce you to Baba Quayfield and his mother, Mama Pearl. this book, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Okay, we got a few hands in here. Okay, we had Black History Month when? Last month?
Right.
Y'all know about Oprah and all them folks, but you don't know about Chancellor Williams, huh? Okay. The Destruction of Black Civilization. Here's a few quotes I took from the book. What became of the black people assuming? The traveler asked the old man. For ancient records show that the people of Sumer were black. What happened to them? Ah, the old man said, they lost their history, so they died. Sumer legend. I was told you belong to a race of nobodies. You have no worthwhile history to point to with pride. I knew that even before leaving high school that one, the land of the blacks was not only the cradle of civilization itself, but that the blacks were once the leading people on earth. Massive black unity would be massive black power, which of course would reduce white power and its domination of the earth. Nothing seems clearer from ancient records than that the whole ancient world knew of nothing more ancient than the black man's civilization. You go back as far back as you can go, and you're going to find us and nobody else. But the time was on the side of the whites, whose most commendable attributes are tactful persistence when overt aggressive action is for the moment expedient, and their careful planning for the future generations is what a, yes sir. Excuse me, ladies. Okay, we'll wait. I'm sorry. I'm not going to interrupt you.
Sorry.
Appear in more interest in the future welfare of their descendants. Now, some folks are more concerned about what their great-grandchildren are going to be doing, and we just trying to figure out if we're going to go to the megafest next year. He who steals your past will control your future. Why is our history important? As a licensed clinical social worker, whenever I see a client, the first thing I do is a behavioral health assessment. I want to know what's your history about. I want to know what's your medical history, and I want to know your mental health history. And not only do I want to know your history, I want to know your parents' history. Because I want to know who drove you crazy. Everything and everybody has a history. There's always a beginning, and knowledge of your past tells you where you have been and helps you to understand your present, which in turn will enable you to create positive plans for your future. Ignorance of our history is the linchpin to our continued enslavement and planned genocide. You hear me? Planned genocide. Folks got a plan for us, and it's written down. And the name of that plan is the King Alfred Plan. And I strongly encourage you to check it out. If you really want to have direct access to it, you can go to my webpage, jsmithlcsw.com. And I wrote an entire article on the King Alfred Plan, telling you exactly how they plan on putting us in those nuclear furnaces. The Jews didn't believe it, did they? Where we begin our history will determine how we feel about ourselves. Remember, if you want to continue getting the same thing over and over again, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. If you want to change what you are getting, you must change what you are doing. And the major problem with black folks is that we want change, but we don't want to change. I mean, y'all, y'all give me an amen now. I'll say or whatever if you agree with me.
Amen.
Who is, thank you, sister, thank you. Shay, thank you, brother. Who is the most powerful ethnic group in America? Who do you think?
Blacks.
Who?
Blacks.
Blacks? We're the most powerful?
We are.
Okay, we don't know it though, do we?
We don't know it.
According to Wikipedia for the year 2017, it Israel was home to 6.5 million Jews, 49% of the world population, while the United States contained 5.3 million Jews, or 40.2% of the world's Jewish population. Even though there are only 2% of American population, the Jewish community is the most powerful ethnic group in America, primarily because they diligently teach themselves and their children the following. Number one, they teach them they experienced their one-time Holocaust, causing approximately 6 million deaths, resulting in their mantra, which says, never again, never forget, and never forgive. Now, you know, last year, was it when that youngster over there in Charleston, South Carolina, went up in Mother Emanuel's church and shot them 9 folks, killed them 9 folks, and he got in his car and he hit the highway, and the cops pulled him over in North Carolina. They didn't fire one shot, did they? No. And not only did they fire a shot, they took him to McDonald's, they took him over to Burger King so that he could have his way before they took him to jail. Now, that's documented. They did it. The Jews also believe that they are God's chosen people, and they have convinced the world that they are God's chosen people. We believe that. Because, you know, every time we turn on the news, we see who the chosen people are. Charlton Heston showed us that in what was that movie?
10 Commandments.
10 Commandments. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Jane. Jewish history. By the way, Jews were heavily involved in America's slave trade. Did y'all know that?
Yes.
Either by owning the slave ships or financing the slave trade. However, this is their historical skeleton. I mean, they don't want us to know that. So, you know, we think too highly of them folks. They wouldn't have done that to us. Furthermore, let us not forget our Belgian Congo Holocaust. See, we've gone through Holocaust too. We're still going through it. We just don't remember it because we don't want to talk about it. Because, you know, I hear folks all the time say, well, you know, I don't want to talk about the slave time. So it's just too depressing. Well, that's why we be bopping along doing the same old, singing the same old tired song. We shall overcome someday.
That was, you know, you made a big issue about it.
The Belgian Congo, over 30 million Africans were either murdered or tortured by the Jewish King Leopold of Belgium. Remember this the next time you decide you want to have some Belgian chocolate. This is a picture of King Leopold. You probably can't see it too well. On his left and his right, you have 2 Africans, and what he did was if they did not meet their quota, he would cut their hands off. That's documented. Folks, let me drop this on you. Don't take anything I say for fact. Check me out. See, that's our problem. We too gullible. People tell us stuff, and we just go and buy it. How many folks have died from the coronavirus? About 30? The Jewish controlled the American slave trade. Here's the list. Here's the name of 15 slave ships, and here's the owner. Is all the names of all the owners of the slave ships, and to the right, they're all of them Jews. Racial hierarchy. Is there any race lower than black Americans? No. Can you name one? Is there anybody in this country lower than us? No. No. In order for another race to get beneath black folks, they have to do what? They have to lift us up. And who's going to do that? Who would do that? We lift everybody else up. When these folks come to America, they do their market analysis. And their market analysis is what? Where do the black folks live? As soon as they find out where the black folks live, that's when they come and open up their businesses. My brother came in from Atlanta this past Friday, and he wanted some fish. So the only fish store in town, we went over, we was over there on Deep Ridge Road, so we went over to a honey fish market, and we walked in the door, and there must have been 50 people up in there, standing room only, and everybody looked like us. Now, we know we can fry some fish.
Okay. Amen.
The racial hierarchy, we said before, the Jews are at the top of the list, followed by whites, followed by Mexicans, followed by Asians, followed by Arabs, followed by Native Americans. By the way, the original Native Americans were Africans. When they arrived here, them folks were just as dark as we were when they met us here. And see, with Cowboy in Hollywood, they had to paint us out of history. So they turned them into what? The red man? And there's a law in the book called the Dog Roll. So when the American government decides to return some of that land back to the Native Americans, some white men ran up there and paid $5 and signed their name on the Dog Roll and became Indians. Yeah. So that's why you see some of these Indians look almost as white as white. And then there's others. And guess who's at the very bottom? Black folks. Like we at the very bottom. Blacks are the most powerless ethnic group in America. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 2018, we blacks comprised 14.6% or 47.8% of America's total population. Yet we are the most powerless ethnic group in America. Our Holocaust, or Ma'afa, which is known as a great murder, great trauma, has resulted in more than 100 million deaths. What is the number one killer among black Americans? Anybody know? Pardon me? High blood pressure. Okay, what else? AIDS, what else? Murder. Murder. Okay. Murder. Who murder? Say more about murder, brother. Each other. Say more about each other, Miss Mann. Well, let me drop it on you for the sake of time. What is the number one killer of blacks in America? Murder. Who is the number one murderer in black America? Be more specific. Be more specific. Be more specific. Be more specific. How about black mothers? How about black mothers? Since 1973, black women have aborted over 18 million black babies. We don't talk about that, do we? No. We don't talk about that, do we? No. And in 2018, who's from New York City? Okay, in 2018, New York City had more black babies aborted than they had black babies born. Abortion is the number one killer of black folks in America. And we need to realize that. And some of these ladies out there, you know this for a fact, they use abortion as a form of birth control. Most black women who have aborted their baby experience some form of mental and emotional trauma. Abortion is the skeleton in our closet that we don't want to talk about. You can't see this picture, but this lady is Margaret Sanger. She was a eugenicist back in the early 20s and what have you. And the eugenicist is about racial superiority. And what she said was, colored people are like human weeds and are to be exterminated. And if you look in our communities, you see what? She was the founder of what? Planned Parenthood. That's where we go to exterminate ourselves. And they're located where? In our neighborhoods, aren't they? All we have to do is get the bus going on downtown. And you can't see this picture too well, but this is Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton said that Margaret Sanger was a hero. So if Margaret Sanger is Hillary Clinton's hero, then Hillary Clinton also believes that black folks need to be exterminated. And you need to check out what Bill and Hillary are doing with their foundations in Africa. They are exterminating folks. And by the way, she received the Margaret Sanger Award because Bill Clinton donated so much money to the Planned Parenthood program. And you can't read this, but it said the African Holocaust, 1,200 years of Arab slavery, 500 years of European slavery, and nobody has been held accountable. Because we don't want to talk about our history. We don't want to talk about what happened to us. Now, you do something to me, and I may forget what you did, but I'm still going to be mad at you 20 years from now. I ain't talking enough. Am I telling the truth? Okay. Why are blacks the most powerless ethnic group in America? That's the question. Why are we the most powerless group in America? Anybody?
We got an identity crisis.
We got an identity crisis. Okay. What else? Why are we the most powerless group in America?
We don't know our true history.
We don't know our true history. What else?
We choose to be.
We choose to be. What else? Anybody? We're the most powerless group in America. And it boils down to, I like that answer this minute, because we choose to be. We choose to be. We choose not to elevate ourselves because we choose not to know our history. We teach ourselves that we are cursed by God. You heard the story of the curse of Ham? Okay? So that's what we teach ourselves. And who taught us? We teach ourselves to never remember the horrors of slavery and to always forgive whites for anything that they have done to us. Am I telling the truth? When Dylan Ruth went on trial, then his family members said, "We forgive you, Dylan." When that cop over in Texas went in that young brother's house and shot him in his own house, and the judge sitting up there on the jury boo-hooing, and comes down off the bench and go and hug this woman and give this woman her Bible, and there's a bailiff standing there stroking this white woman's hair. And you tell we're not mentally ill? In fact, many American school districts are no longer teaching the history of slavery, saying that it is too traumatic. We don't want to traumatize these children. We don't want them to know how bad we treated people. The following is a comment left on one of my blog posts by an irate reader. I mean, this woman was upset. I know she was upset because she did all caps. So you know when you write in all caps, you're shouting, right? She said, her name is Sharon K. Gonzalez. She don't mind me knowing, so I don't mind telling. Sharon K. Gonzalez, May 13, 2019, at 12:54 a.m. It's glad to know that folks say that all that word about me. You know. What she said? Jerry Smith, don't ever call me your oppressor or your enslaver. I was born in New Jersey. I never had anything to do with slavery. Stop whining and go on with your life. Now, can you imagine her saying that to a Jew? She'd be back apologizing for the next 20 years. No, I didn't mean it. You remember what Jesse said up there in New York when he called them folks Town? He still apologized. It is true that Miss Gonzalez is not my oppressor personally, nor has she ever been my enslaver. However, because of the 400 plus years of slavery, racism, and white supremacy, all white people today are the beneficiaries of the financial and social rewards that peculiar institution brought on. You often see news reports about white farmers stating that their farms have been in their families for 200 years. Have you heard that? You seen that on the news? Keep in mind that even though the so-called emancipated slaves were promised 40 acres, a mule, and you forget that we was also promised $50. They never received any of it. The only thing that the emancipated slaves received was the choice between staying on the white man's plantation working as his indentured servant, or leaving the plantation, going off and ended up getting caught up in the criminal justice system, being brought back to the plantation to work as convict leasing. If Jewish people won't forgive and forget Hitler and their Holocaust, then why should I forgive and forget the slave owners and my Holocaust? Ask any Russian American children where they are from and they will say Russia. Ask any Polish American child where he's from and he will say Poland. Ask any Italian American children where they are from and they will say Italy. Ask European American children where they are from and they will say Europe. Ask Black American children where they are from and they will say Augusta, Burke County, Atlanta, Chicago, Bronx, Philadelphia, America. Okay. or some other city in America. Every other American nationality have a geographic homeland except black Americans. There's no place called black land unless you want to translate the word Kemet, which is the land of the black. Therefore, we believe that our history began with slavery, and since the Emancipation Proclamation, we have really come a long way. However, if we saw ancient Africa as our geographic homeland, then in the total scheme of things, blacks are going backwards on a high-speed train. We have no geographic identity. What do we answer to? You remember they used to call us niggers, slaves, bucks or wenches, 3/5 human. Therefore, we were property, chattel. We were colored, Negroes. You folks remember that, don't you? No, we answered to either one, didn't we? Colored or Negro. Afro-American, black. Now, you folks remember back in the day, these folks call us black. We're going to fight.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yes, right.
Them were fighting words. Don't call me black.
Yeah, I remember that.
African-American, minority. Minority means what? Minor or less than. So we identify as minor and less than. So that means we're minor or less than. We're inferior to what? The majority. The majority is what? Major or greater than. Oh. Now, speaking of minorities, they tell me that this complex out here got, what, $17 million to renovate? Is that what they said? To renovate the pool and the gym? Did y'all hear about that?
Yeah.
Okay, $17 million. So the majority population in Richmond County is who? Black folks? So we're going to run downtown and beg these folks to give us what? $1,700,000. We don't want that 10% set aside. If we're the majority, then how come we don't go get the 90%? How come we don't get the 90% and let other folks get that 10%? If we're the majority. Because our politicians don't tell us that. We don't think beyond what these folks tell us. We identify with who they say we are. Now, y'all need to go tell somebody to go down there and get that big chunk of that 90% and stop settling for less because we have less, because we settle for less. And we need to stop settling. Underprivileged. How many of you heard that term? We're underprivileged. That means we're under the privilege. Words are important. Words have meaning, and we need to pay attention to what these words are saying, because they're talking about us and we're putting ourselves down. Of course, you heard that N-word, right? You ever they use that term now, the N-word? You hear that, the N-word? Now, whenever you hear that term, the N-word, what word comes to mind? Nigger. So they called me nigger on the QT. Yeah. They called me nigger on the QT. Most of these terms are negative. So if we see ourselves in negative terms, then we're going to behave accordingly, aren't we? Historical racism. According to the 2010 census, 55% of all blacks lived in the South. And over 90% of all blacks originated in the South. And you want to know where we went to during the Great Migration? Well, everybody this side of Alabama went up the eastern seaboard. So we landed in D.C., Maryland, Philadelphia, all the way up to Boston and what have you. Everybody on the other side of Alabama went up the Midwest and they ended up in Chi-Town, Chicago, Indianapolis, or went out far west of California. Because how come? Because they had to follow that train line. Wherever that train goes, that's where they went. Consequently, 100% of all black Americans has experienced historical racism, the likes of which no other people in the world have ever experienced. Nobody has experienced what we've experienced. Nobody. We have experienced 246 years of that peculiar institution known as American slavery from 1619 to 1865, 100 years from 1865 to 1965 of overt racism in the form of Jim Crow and the Black Code, comprising 100 years of lynching, sharecropping, COINTELPRO, substandard health, housing, diet, economic, education, and employment. And you want to know why we're sick, both physically and mentally? In addition, all of this, black folks have been subjected to an additional 55 years from 1965 to the present of overt racism, including lynchings by cops and de facto discrimination. In other words, racism is still driving black people crazy. The National Alliance of Mental Health reported in 2018 that approximately 13.2% or 45.7 million of the U.S. population is black, and of those, approximately 16% or 6.8 million were diagnosed with a mental health disorder. That's a lot of folks have mental health issues. Mind you, these are only those that were officially diagnosed. Let's not forget about mamas and daddies and what have you. If mama drove me crazy, then guess what? Somebody drove her crazy too, right? What they said about that tree and that fruit. In 2018, Mental Health America issued their findings on the mental health of black Americans, which are as follows. Adult black African Americans are 20% more likely to report serious psychological distress than adult white. Adult black African Americans living below poverty are 3 times more likely to report serious psychological distress than those living above poverty. In other words, being poor makes you have problems. Is that, you think that works? You know, trying to figure out where you're going to eat, how you're going to pay them utilities, how you're going to feed your baby. That's stressful, isn't it?
Yes.
Adult black African Americans are more likely to have feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and worthlessness than are adult whites. And while black African Americans are less likely than white people to die from suicide as teenagers, black African American teenagers are more likely to attempt suicide than are white teenagers. Those numbers are changing. Our babies are killing themselves. Our babies are killing themselves. Did you know, this is Fred Hampton. Anybody remember Fred Hampton? No. Okay. All right. Y'all don't, but we had Black History Month last week, and you did last month, and you didn't talk about Papa Fred? Huh. Okay. That, what Fred said, that when blacks started uniting to peacefully protest in the 60s and 70s, President Hoover, he called him President Hoover because Hoover had more power than the president. President Hoover sent FBI agents to infiltrate the movements. They looted, they incited riots, they committed other acts, including murder, because they murdered Fred Hampton. The program is called COINTELPRO. Anybody ever hear that? Counterintelligence Program. And it's still effective today. I'm on the list. They watching me. So be careful when getting too close to them now, because when that beam from the sky comes down, you become collateral damage. All right. Did you folks also know that Martin Luther King Jr.'s family sued the federal government for murdering him, and they won the case?
Yes.
Did y'all know that?
Yes.
The government killed Dr. King. They wouldn't have won this case if they hadn't been found guilty. But y'all don't know that, do you?
No.
Okay, because the white folks didn't tell y'all that. You had to peel that onion back and check this stuff out.
What?
Mental health training. Mental Health America also reports that the American Psychological Association, or the APA, only identifies 2% of its members as being black. Only 2%. As a mental health professional with more than 40 years of experience in this field, I know that the vast majority of mental health professionals out here don't know me. And therefore, if they don't know me, how can they treat me? Because they went to school and they didn't learn anything about me. Everything I learned in the 6 years I was in college going through this, I learned about white folks. They learned me how to work with white folks. So white folks learn how to work with white folks, and we're different people. We have different experiences. Nobody has experienced what we've experienced. So how can you counsel me? I have an associate's degree in psychology, I have a bachelor's degree in behavioral science, I have a master's degree in counseling, I have over 120 psychology courses, and hundreds of hours of workshops. And not once did I have to learn about slavery and the effects of slavery. And see, if you don't think we're still affected by slavery, go downtown in what y'all call the bottom and just park your car and just watch. You're going to still see folks walking in the streets. Because you know back in the day they weren't allowed to walk on the sidewalks down there. And you ask them, why are you walking in the street? Well, one lady told me, because there's snakes in the bushes. One guy told me, well, you know, I got jumped a few weeks ago, so I'm walking in the street. This was right across the street from John N. Clark's building. I was out there talking to his young brother about it. And he's not young, he's in his 40s, he's old enough to know better. But he said he got jumped, so he's walking in the streets instead of on the sidewalk. I said, well, you know, you're walking with the traffic coming towards you, they still jump. Oh, yeah, you're right. So he crossed over on the other side. Still in the streets. It's in our DNA. We don't know any better. To paraphrase one of our spirituals, nobody knows the trouble I've been in but us. How can you teach what you don't know, and how can you treat that which you deny? And folks deny, just like Sister Gonzalez did. She denied that slavery ever affected us. We deny that slavery ever affected us. Observational learning, that's self-explanatory. We learn by observing the behavior of others. Is that true? Okay, so if I don't dance, but if one of you dancers got up here and created a new dance within a week, it'll be all over Augusta. Is that true? And within 2 weeks, it'll be all over the world because it's going to be on the internet. It's going to put it on YouTube and what have you. Our first teachers are our parents and other adults in our circle of influence. Our parents then turn us over to people that neither look like us or have our best interests at heart. Our enslavers gave us the worst of everything, and we foolishly believed that their children would give us something designed to improve us. No other people on this planet has our history, and since our enslavement, we have been socialized into deviant behavior. These folks got a plan for us. And we, you know, and the plan is written. It's written down. It's just not something I'm speculating. You can find it. I read. And I talk to folks and I say, do you like to read? Oh, no, not really. I taught college for 11 years, and many of my students would say, oh, I don't like to read. How you going to go through college and not like to read?
Right?
What's wrong with us? We might be afraid we're going to find out something, right? The first thing the white enslavers did was to steal us from our home and our people. They then stole our names, history, and spirituality and forced their religion, fake history, and names on us with their inhumane tortures. They then forbade us to remember our past and forced us to embrace our current status as the white man's slave. With white enslavers destroyed our family and community connections and beat into us the necessity for what? Looking out for number one. Y'all remember that? Looking out for number one. You know, it's your thing. Do it the way you want to do it. And I contend that the two things that really destroyed the black movement was Soul Train and the Jericho. Okay? Soul Train and the Jericho. Because Soul Train flipped the script and gave us a new type of music to start singing to and dancing to. And you know, at Jericho, you put them chemicals in our head and straighten our hair out, you know, it got to sink into our brain. They then beat into us to hate everybody and everything that was black, including ourselves. Consequently, we blacks became totally dependent on whites for our very existence. Therefore, worshiping whites as our new gods. And the worst thing that ever happened to us was integration. Prior to integration, we had it going on. They tell me, I didn't grow up down there, but they tell me y'all had some heck of some business up and down Main Street. Anything you wanted, we had. But see, white folks' ice is colder. All of this was taken directly from Willie Lynch's manifesto. If you don't know about Willie Lynch, go to my website, jsmithlcsw.com. I got a whole article on Willie Lynch. Tell you everything about it. In August 1619, 20 and odd Africans arrived in Jamestown, Virginia. Now, when them 20 Africans, 20 and odd, what is 20 and odd? They're already starting off with odd. 20 and odd Africans boarded that ship in 1619. Now, when they got on that ship, they were neither slaves nor were they Christians. When they got off that ship, they were slaves and Christians. However, once they disembarked at the British colony of Jamestown, Virginia, they had both slavery and Christianity literally beaten into it. Our black ancestors were enslaved by a mentally ill and barbaric race, and we had to embrace maladaptive behaviors just to survive their onslaught of atrocities and barbarism. Their primary weapons used against us was a vile and horrendous form of violence and terror, forcing us into psychological state of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness says, no matter what you do, you can't beat these folks. You hear this expression, you can't fight City Hall? You ever hear that expression? Well, let me tell you, I've been fighting all my life. And in 1970, I went into the Navy, joined the Navy. And in 1974, I re-enlisted for 5 years. In 1976, I ran in, late 75, I ran into some horrendous racism and discrimination. I was a dental technician, and the Navy back in the 70s had issues with black folks putting our hands in the white folks' mouth. I wasn't supposed to be doing what I was doing. So we had the new division officer, and I decided I was going to buy a house. And my division officer, Lieutenant Commander McCracken, I had to get him to sign the document saying that I was authorized to live off base. I was already living off base. So it's just a formality, just going to sign this document. So he locked my heels on that. By the way, any vets in here? Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Okay. So he locked my heels and had me standing up there at attention while he telling me that if the Navy wanted me to have a house, they would issue me one in my sea bag. Yeah, I'm a single E5 wanting to buy a house. He's saying I shouldn't buy one. And so finally he said, okay, now just go and throw this form in the trash. I said, no, sir, I respectfully request that you go and sign this form. Nigger, I told you to throw this form in the trash. This is 1975. I said, no, sir, I respectfully request that you sign this form. And so he eventually looked at me and saw that he could not intimidate me. So he signed the form and threw it on the floor. I couldn't move now until he gave me permission to move. And then he said, get the so-and-so and so-and-so out of my house, you black so-and-so and so-and-so, out of my office. So I picked up the form and left and bought my house. Before escrow closed, I had orders to leave San Diego, California, to go to Norfolk, Virginia, and catch a ship out of Norfolk, Virginia. To pay that. So what I decided to do, I'm not going to go. In fact, I said, not only am I not going, I quit. They said, what you mean you quit? You got 3 years left on your enlistment. You can't quit. This is the Navy. I said, no, sir, you're wrong. The government says I'm obligated to serve my country 6 years. And I have served my country honorably for 6 years. This remaining 3 years is my time. I choose not to do it. I quit. I wrote everybody, including the commander-in-chief, who happened to be Jimmy Carter. Just got a letter. And I wrote so many letters out there talking about how the Navy is discriminating against me and racism and all of that. You know? I got the fastest discharge in the history of the Navy. McCracken called me in on a Wednesday. Got the good news and the bad news. You can be out of the Navy on Friday. You got to pay back $7,000 in enlistment money. I'll take the discharge. I got an honorable discharge with all my benefits, and if you paid them folks that $7,000, they got it.
I sure.
If you know your rights and you're willing to act on your rights, you have rights. Most of us might know it, but we're not willing to act on it. We're afraid. What y'all think? We're scared. What they gonna do to me? Hey, I'm gonna die anyway. I'm going to die anyway. And if you eat me when you kill me, I hope you catch indigestion. Once in this, and that's a true statement, because them folks are known to eat folks. You ever hear Tasmania? Them Australians went up in there and killed every Tasmanian on that island, and they ate them. And they still out of eating us trying to get that melanin. You folks need to come out and tell them and start reading. Our psychological state had us accepting that our enslavement was preordained by the Christian God, because again, we got the curse of pain. Okay? Yet, because their Christian God was so benevolent, he sent his only begotten Son as both our Redeemer and Lord and Savior, and all we had to do was to blindly believe in him. Unquestionably, with all of our minds, hearts, and souls, he would save us only when we died and went to heaven. Within one generation, slavery became the law of the land. And have you ever heard of the Casual Killing Act? Well, what it basically said was that the slave owners who killed slaves were not punished because they had a right to kill their property who were being disobedient. So this is why when these cops are out there shooting us down in the street, they're not punishing them either, are they? The Casual Killing Act is still on the books. So when we scratch their head trying to figure out how they're getting away with it, they wrote the law. So they won't be punished for it. And here's a picture of the slave ship and the first 20 slaves getting off. This is an image of it. Nobody had cameras back then. So somebody just drew the image of it.
What year is that?
1619. In fact, I wrote an article about 1619. Go to my website, look on my blog, jsmithlcsw.com. I got over 100 articles out there, and you got links to it, so don't take my word for anything I say. Check me out. And what this says is basically the slave code made blacks and their children property or chattel for life of the white masters. In some colonies, it was a crime to teach a slave to read or write. In most colonies, it was a crime to teach a slave to read or write. Conversion to Christianity did not qualify the slave for freedom. Let me read that again. Conversion to Christianity did not qualify the slave for freedom. These black codes or slave codes would again appear during and after the Civil War. And they're still going on today. Key word here, folks. Conversion. That's the key word. Conversion. So again, I ask you, what spiritual system were you before you were enslaved and converted into Christianity? We weren't always Christians. Here's a flyer for a slave sale. This was January 10th, 1855. They got $3. They got one winch. They got another buck, and they got 17 bucks. Let's say it. This is a picture of an escaped slave or an escaped enslaved man who escaped the South and went and joined the Union Army. And they looked at his back. He got all these welts and keloid scars all over his back from the beatings. Who would do that to another human being? Who would do that? Who would beat somebody like that? And here's another picture, as you can't see it too well. Basically what it says, pregnant slaves would still receive whippings. They would dig a hole in the ground and let her lay on her stomach so that her stomach would protrude into the hole so that they would not harm the baby because the baby was property. Slave law of 1705 described how whites would treat blacks. How many of you heard of the Meritorious Manumission Act? Meritorious Manumission Act basically said that if you come and snitch on somebody and help the white man catch these folks, then I'm going to give you your freedom, not your family's freedom. I'm just going to free you. And so when you hear about one of the most well-planned, well-thought-out slave revolt, that was with Denmark Vesey over in Charlestown, South Carolina. and he was a member of Mother Emanuel Church back in the day. And so he plotted this slave revolt, and one of his partners, or co-conspirators, I'm convinced, I don't know this for fact, I'm just convinced his name was Morris Brown. Then Marquese's plan was found out, and of course they executed him. Morris Brown went to Atlanta and started Morris Brown College. I don't know if he's a meritorious man, he did it or not. I do know that they're a member of the same church at the same time. Because of the increasing number of runaway Africans deciding to remain enslaved, deciding not to remain enslaved, they came up with the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which meant that these folks could chase these runaway slaves all over the country. And whoever they found, they can bring them back. And whoever aided and abetted them, they would also be locked up and have heavy penalties. In 1851, the medical quack by the name of Samuel A. Cartwright came up with a psychiatric diagnosis known as drapetomania. Drapetomania. And what he basically said was, these slaves got to be mentally ill to run away from slavery. Something's got to be wrong with y'all who want to be free. Because again, the good book said in Colossians 3:23 and Ephesians 6:5, what? Slaves, obey your master. Now, if your good book tells you about being a slave and being obeying somebody, I would question that book. The Dred Scott decision was enacted by the Supreme Court in 1857, which basically said a black man has no rights that a white man has none. And so when we go up in the courthouse and we see how these folks are winning every time, no matter what they do to us, the Dred Scott decision is still on the books. A black man has no rights that a white man has none. The Plessy versus Ferguson decision was when in 1896 was when the Supreme Court ruled that separate but unequal is acceptable behavior. Now, they determined, the slave owners or the white folks determined what was acceptable. And so we had all of them segregated schools. Anybody ever went to a segregated school? Well, the one-room school buildings with everybody in there? Well, some of us did. Not that necessarily. You did, Mama Pearl? Okay. All right. Now, the Plessy versus Ferguson decision is still in operation because how many of you heard of the term the corridor of shame? The corridor of shame. Okay, it begins, you heard about it, it begins at the North Carolina border and runs all the way down to the Georgia border along I-95. And it has the worst school district in the world. The corridor of shame. Google it. Suffice it to say that here we are 40 years later, still slaves and still Christians. I don't know if one has to do with the other. Here we go. We blacks don't believe that we are still enslaved because we're suffering from delusions of grandeur. We think we've arrived. We got these nice homes that we're living in, got these fine cars that we drive. Hey, we made it. We pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. In fact, we even made our own boots. Lincoln gave us the Emancipation Proclamation, but we don't know about the Emancipation Proclamation because the Emancipation Proclamation didn't free anybody. For Lincoln didn't have the authority to issue the Emancipation Proclamation because what he said was the Emancipation Proclamation would free all those slaves in the states that were rebelling against the United States. And if they rebelled and if they succeeded, he didn't have any authority over them. He didn't free the northern slaves. He didn't. What he did was, out of guilt, he freed the slaves that were in Washington, D.C. But in the process of freeing those slaves in Washington, D.C., he paid reparations to the slave owners. And here we are still begging these folks to consider giving us reparations. In 1964 and 65, President Lyndon B. Johnson, he wrote the Civil Rights Bill and the Voting Rights Act, and we said, yippee, yahoo, we got the Civil Rights Bill and the Voting Rights Act, and every 5 years we get all stressed out because they may not renew it. And so we hope they're going to renew this bill. And when President Johnson wrote that bill, I heard this on an audio of his voice saying that after writing them bills, what he said, I'm going to give this quote, I'll have those niggas voting Democrats for the next 200 years. And what y'all think? President Biden, and Biden's only claim to fame is what? He's President Obama's vice president? I wrote an article for President Obama. I said President Obama don't care about black folks. Jerry Smith, LCSW, I know that's harsh, I know, hey, but just like he hasn't done anything for us. Not one thing. Except to become the first black president, they said. The slave must love, this is what Willie Lynch said. The slave must love and respect and fear only us. By the way, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Constitutional Amendment gave us all the rights we need. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Constitution Amendment is written specifically for black folks, not for anybody else. The language is there. This is for the freed slaves. And since we're the only slaves, who else is it written for? But now everybody is benefiting from it except us. You got the handicapped, you got whites, you got Hispanics. Everybody benefiting from these benefits except from this amendment except us. Okay, thank you. Time is flying. Let me run on. Let me show you some things. You can't see this picture. Here's a picture I got on my business card. This is over here at the Augusta Richmond County Jail on Tennessee Road. Got this individual strapped down in the chair.
Bless you.
Why'd y'all say that? Why'd y'all say that? You don't know? Why'd y'all say that? You don't know? Why y'all say that?
Why?
I don't know why you said it. You said it. Don't ask me why you said it. Who taught you to say it? Your mama taught you? Your papa taught you? Who taught them?
My mother.
Who taught them? Who taught them? Everything we know, somebody taught us. And we still hanging on these rituals out here. We do things we don't even know why we doing. When is Easter, by the way? Anybody know when Easter is?
Next month.
Next month when? Okay. Now, we know when Christmas is, right? It's the 25th, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we know when Valentine's Day is, right?
Yeah.
We know when Halloween is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't know when Easter is. How come? Because every year it comes out differently. Not the second Sunday. Not the second Sunday. Easter has been known to come in March.
Yeah.
Okay? Easter has occurred in March. All right, and what I'm trying to get to is I got a slide here that shows you that last year Easter was on the
In March, right?
no, last year was in April.
Okay.
I'm trying to give you the date. Anyway, every year Easter comes on a different day. And what is Easter? Why do we celebrate Easter?
For the kids.
For the kids? Okay, that's a good answer.
It's supposed to be in honor of the resurrection of Christ.
Okay, resurrection of Christ. So what day was Christ crucified? They said what? A Friday? He was crucified on Friday. And how many days before he arose? 3 days. And so he rose on Sunday. So you got Friday to Sunday. How many days is that? You sure? You sure it's 3? Are you sure it's 3 now? I'm dealing with this old man. Friday to Saturday is 1 day. Saturday to Sunday is 2 days. How do you get 3 out of that? That's what they told you. Every year comes a different day. But anyway, folks, my time is up. I would love to finish this. I probably got another hour that I share with you. If you want to do another Black History program, then have now, we'll travel. Okay. Any questions?
Give your website again.
jsmithlcsw.com.
And then the books that you wrote.
The books are It's Time to Stop Blaming the White Man. I wrote the sequel to that. It's Still Time to Stop Blaming the White Man. And the last one I wrote is Christianity, the Real Deal. And I'm working on my 4th book right now, and I'm thinking I'm going to title it American Apartheid from the Black Perspective. Any questions?
Yeah, I enjoyed you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Simpkins. Any other questions? Folks, I enjoyed you. I appreciate your attention. And please, check me out. Don't take my word for it. But if you don't know your history, you're going to be in trouble. Thank you.
And also, we have any cards, Mrs. Smith?
Yes, ma'am. I do have some cards.
Those available. And also, those who are interested in the books, I'll make those available. I'm sure you get the Barnes and Noble.
Good job, Barbara.
Thank you. And also, if you go to my website, you can get a copy of my book. And I strongly suggest you get the one off the website because this way it got links to it, and it's cheaper. It's only, I think, right now I got a discount for Black History Month. I think it's only $6 on the website.
Well, let's give Mrs. Smith a hand. He's one of Britain's families. I'm not within our family. So I just want to thank you all so much for being patient, being respectful, and listening attentively.